Okay, so we're going to take a look at switch now. So basically what we have here is we have this kind of code that we'd already written for the if example, but here we have an int of a number, right? We're going to do puts, hey, guess my number, and then scanf to get the input from the user, okay? Now what we're going to do with switch is that basically we're going to declare a switch statement, okay? Unlike an if statement, switch only looks at one variable, okay, and it only uses equivalency to test for cases, okay? So in this case, switch, we're going to say that we're going to look at number, right? We're going to look at number, and then each case is going to be case, let's say 1, and we're going to puts puts. Come on, puts. All right. Okay, you guessed a 1. Okay, case 1. Okay, case 2, you guessed a 2. Case 3, you guessed a 3. Okay. All right. So, okay, you can see here that based upon the equivalency, we're going to get some kind of statement based upon some kind of statement based upon what they typed in. Okay, so we're going to get their input and number. We declare switch, right? Notice switch is followed by a code block. Okay, it doesn't have a semicolon, it has a code block, and then each case has a colon after it, and then the lines following it are the code. Okay. So let's go ahead and run this, and then we're going to kind of look at where people start making mistakes and why case can be useful. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and compile this. So we're going to go up arrow, up arrow. Oh, actually, we're not going to go up arrow. We're going to call GCC. Okay, the thing we're compiling is switch, witch.c. Our output is dash lowercase o, and we're going to call it switch. Okay, enter. And I got a lot of I put instead of puts. Boy, I have a lot of problems. There we go. Okay, so now it compiles just fine. And we're going to go ahead and run it. Okay, so we're going to call /switch. Okay, guess my number. I guess a 1. You guessed 1. Okay, so basically you can see that a switch statement, whichever case executes, basically it skips everything else. If we guessed a 1, it executes case 1 all the way till it hits break, and then at the break it exits the switch. Okay, now I added breaks to all of these, but what if I didn't add a break? Okay. What if I forgot or chose not to add a break? I could do case 1 with no break, right? And let's see what happens now. Okay, so I have GCC, I recompile. Okay, call switch. Guess my number, I guess a 1. Notice that now it says you guessed 1 and then you guessed 2. So what happens with switch is the first time it hits a case that matches, right? So when the value of case 1 matches the number that is the value that's stored in the number variable, right? It basically runs all the code until it hits a break, okay? So that's the thing you have to remember about case. It's not like if, because there's no code block after each case, right? So it just runs, once it hits the case that matches, it just runs everything until it hits a break. The last thing we're going to cover here with case is that you can have a default case, which basically is our catch-all, and we're going to say puts, you didn't guess a 1, 2, or 3. Okay, so in this case, if we get to the switch statement and we type in a 4, case 1 is going to evaluate to false, and it's going to skip these. Case 2 is going to evaluate to false, it's going to skip lines 15 and 16. Case 3 is going to evaluate to false, we're going to skip lines 18 and 19. And finally, we get to default. Default, if nothing else happens, we get to default, right? And we don't need a break after default, clearly, because there's nothing after default. Okay, we could put one if we wanted, but no need. Oops. And I forgot my, okay, it compiles, calls switch, and guess my number, and let's say I put a 4. You didn't guess 1, 2, or 3, okay? Just a reminder that if we were to remove the break from 3, we would get the same thing. So let's compile again. It's switch. Just remember that if the case test is true, it starts to execute all code until it hits a break. So we did 3 this time. We would get both of those outputs. Okay, that's switch. Best of luck on switch.